So it's not often I get to meet the star of the show so soon after I've seen the show.
Yeah.
I am gobsmacked, for want of a better expression. I wish I could be more articulate, but...
Gobsmacked is so idiosyncratically non-American, and we don't have an equivalent, unfortunately.
What kind of jaw-dropping, I think it's fair to say. It does not let up. All the reviews are absolutely bang on, and you must be surfing a huge wave at the moment. Now that the reviews are in, if you like, obviously it's the fans that count.
Right.
And I can assure you they'll be embracing it, as I did, as a 7-year-old who came out with the same sense of wonderment. Now, why do you think that is? Do you think it's because the younger generation, if you like, are now styling it out, if you like? They're now making this franchise?
Well, first of all, it's therapeutic to forget all your troubles, and whether it's Hogwarts or Middle-earth or the Land of Oz, in this case, a galaxy far, far away, you can go and just be transported and forget about the harsh reality of real life. I always thought of the film as more of a fairy tale than science fiction. When I first read it, I said, oh my gosh, there's a princess, a farm boy, a space pirate, a wizard. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away is not that far from Once Upon a Time. And fairy tales are timeless, you know, and the lovely thing about this, you're talking about you were a little boy when you first saw it. Now the original fans are parents themselves, and they're passing it on to their children. So it's a really warm sort of feeling to think that you're associated with something that brings families together and makes them so happy. I mean, I really never I wanted to be in the entertainment business. Whatever it was, I thought if I fail as an actor, I'm not a bad cook. I could be a caterer. I don't have to be in the show. I want to be near the show. And to realize, because again, I never expected to be remembered for anything, really. So to be remembered for something that's this positive and this optimistic, that really has at its core really positive values, you know, doing the right thing, selflessly, not thinking of yourself, for others. Those are really good things for young people to learn.
A great opportunity as well, I think, because not everyone gets to revisit something with obviously such a swathe of time in between. When we met on the red carpet for the episode 7, you had a sense of wonderment about you as well, because, I mean, the scale of that was just extraordinary, right? And now here we are, it's 8, and it really is all about you. Right. We left you literally with a cliffhanger on the edge of a cliff.
Don't you love that visual pun?
Yeah. And now here you are.
It wasn't a coincidence. Abrams has a great sense of humor. But you mentioned the fans, and it's just, you know, it's extraordinary. You know, so I don't encounter it on a daily basis, but when you come face to face with that unbridled passion, and they all have stories. I met my future wife online for this one. We had twins that we named Luke and Leia by the time the sequel came out. It got me through a terrible illness. My son was autistic. A lightsaber was, you know, brought him out of his shell. It's moving. It really is, and I never take it for granted. The fans are so supportive and so loyal. They're with you through thick and thin. You know, I thought at some point, you know, we had a beginning, a middle, and end, and it would go away, and something else would come along, and it never really went away. And I sort of resisted for a while.
Yeah, I was going to say, was that like a double-edged sword?
Sure.
Yeah.
Because, you know, when I did Amadeus on Broadway, and Milos Forman had me come in and read with other actresses playing Costanza, which is a great position to be in because the focus is on someone else, and, you know, you can relax. But at lunchtime, I said to Milos, you know, I did this show for nearly a year. Would you consider me to play Mozart? He said, no, because no one is to be believing that the Luke Skywalker is the Mozart. And he was sincere, because I know Dustin Hoffman was dying to play Salieri. He wanted people that no one had ever seen before. But, you know, look, the negative is so outweighed by the positive. It's given me so much. It's hard to complain.
I think there must be an added poignancy. Well, of course there is, for all of us who are Carrie Fisher fans as well, watching this particular instalment. And I imagine for you as well, because there really only are a handful of people who can appreciate what it's like to be part of such a phenomenon. And of course, you were youngsters, very much so, when
she
you
was
first
19
started.
when I met her. And also, she was always ahead of me. Luke's not the sharpest, pencil in the box. Ben Kenobi's right in front of him. He doesn't recognize him. I shoo Yoda away. I'm looking for a great Jedi Master. He's right there. But Carrie was very sharp in that way. I mentioned doing Broadway, and she looked at my playbill one time, and she says, "What's this line? Hamill, who starred in a series of space films, made his Broadway debut and blah, blah, blah. Why didn't you mention him by name?" I said, "Well, it's Broadway. The critics here are kind of snobby. They probably don't like Star Wars." She said, "Mark, I'm Princess Leia. You're Luke Skywalker. Get used to it, own it, and get over yourself." And, at the time, I sort of chafed at that idea. Carrie and I were more like siblings than we'd like to admit, because we just fight like the Dickens, and I'd say, "Oh, you're so full of yourself," and she'd say, "Oh, get lost." And, but there was that foundation of love. But in this case, the fact that we got to have extended time together, because it was sporadic over the years, there was a comfort level. She could relax knowing that I was the same person I was before, that I wasn't angling to, "Can you introduce me to this director or get my script to this guy?" So she was relaxed around me. She was effortlessly funny. I was proud that I could make her laugh. And we would just, I'd be in her trailer and we'd just say, "Can you believe that we're doing this?" After all these years, again, when George mentioned that they wanted to do another trilogy, I was, as you say, gobsmacked. But I kept a poker face. I'm pretty good at that. Inside, I was freaking out, but I kept the straight face. Carrie immediately went, "I'm in!" Later, I said, when the meeting was over, I said, "Carrie, poker face. I mean, you got to act aloof so you can get yourself the best deal and not be so anxious." She cuts right to the chase. She goes, "Mark, what kind of parts are there for women over 50 in Hollywood?" And I again, she was so smart, and women obviously have it much harder in Hollywood. The 30-year-old actor has the 25-year-old girlfriend, and then he's 40 and has the 25-year-old girlfriend. He's 50, 60, still has the 25-year-old girlfriend. It's unfair, but that's just the way it is.
Tough times you've been through as well, as you've mentioned, but a sense now that you're squaring the circle. And if you think about it, sort of handing over the baton, as you would say, or the baton, as we would say, to the next generation. There is very much a sense of that about this too.
Yeah. Well, you're looking around and you're thinking, wait a minute, I used to be the orphan discovering hidden powers. Now we got Rey. I used to be the headstrong, impulsive, hotshot pilot of the X-Wing. Now we've got Poe Dameron. I used to be sneaking around the enemy territory dressed in the enemy's uniform.
I used to be the young action figure with the blonde hair, right?
Yeah.
With the lightsaber that comes out the arm.
Luke would say, what are all these strangers rummaging through my toy box, playing with my old toys? But it's natural. You've got to move the story forward. It's not my story anymore. I'm just lucky to be along for the ride. I'm having the time of my life. Because I appreciate it in a way I couldn't have in my 20s. That was my first movie. I said,
which is extraordinary, isn't it? And now here you are acting with the Porgs. I've got to get a line from you on the Porgs. I mean, they're beautiful, right? I mean, every home needs a Porg, right?
Well, they're loosely based on a real bird called a puffin, which is, they populate Skellig Michael off the coast of Ireland, where we filmed Luke's island of Octu. But because they're protected species and their only predators are seagulls, if you sit very still, they'll kind of swarm around you, whole families, because they're curious. They're like little penguins. Their little wings, they can't take flight they have to jump off the cliff and catch the wind. And they have toucan-like beaks that are a little bit shorter. Just the most adorable birds in the world.
You've been very animated on Twitter about spoilers, obviously, and this is going out on Thursday morning, the day the movie comes out, obviously around the world. Drives me mad.
Why do people do that? I had sisters that used to take delight in going into my parents' closet and coming out and telling me what I was getting for Christmas. And I hated that because I'd have to act surprised, and plus it ruins it for you. Somebody just 2 tweets. I don't block people. You know, I'm very mouthy politically, but if you disagree with me politically, you're not my enemy. We just disagree. Even hate tweets. Sometimes I like them just to bewilder them, you know. But because the object
just to play with their heads.
Well, exactly. The
Right?
object is to really hurt me bad. So if I like it, I thought they'll go, huh? Mission not accomplished. I wanted to make them feel terrible.
Have you ever liked one of Trump's tweets?
Never.
Never.
Well, listen, for comedy value, sure.
Right.
But the fact of the matter, 2 tweets just came out and gave away the ending. And I thought, is it because they have this power for a limited amount of time? I just don't understand why somebody would want to do that, because I don't like spoilers. How many times, Richard, have you seen a trailer where you go, well, I've pretty much seen the whole movie.
Seen the whole film, right?
Yeah, Castaway, they show him crashing, they show him surviving on the island, they show him getting back to civilization. I mean, all it was missing was the end and the end credits. But to be fair, I'm a big Robert Zemeckis fan, and I love that movie, so don't call me out on that.
No, we won't call you out on
Okay.
It's been an absolute pleasure, my friend.